You're watching Camnet TV, not just another channel. Welcome to our news. The headlines. Zambian government releases 200 million kwacha to service debt it owes to civil servants. Coroner's court finds police guilty of deliberately shooting to death Frank MUGALA. President EDGAR LUNGU responds to Zambians over harsh economy. And in international news, chaos in a Pan-African Parliament over continental bodies elections. And in sports news, CHIPOLOPOLO leaves for Senegal. For the details, join me shortly after this break.
Camnet TV is here to entertain, educate and inform you. Catch Rise and Thrive at 07:30 hours every Saturday. Fresh and new praise and worship comes Monday to Friday at 8 hours. Kids need to be glued to the TV every weekday at 09 hours for their favorite cartoons. Off the pitch with the boys as they talk about sport on Saturdays at 09:30 hours.
Remember, we are also here to entertain you with our different varieties of movies every weekday at 10 hours. Join Pastor Victoria and Moses Chuluwa with Healing Word Ministries International Church live sermon every Sunday at 10 hours.
Katamanda brings to you another journey of gospel ministers on Saturdays at 10:30 hours. The verdict comes to your screens at 17:45 hours. Join the Revival Harvest Church every Sunday at 18:30 hours.
Every Monday to Saturday, join us on the news desk at 12 hours as we bring to you the midday news, and at 19:30 hours Central African time every day for the main bulletin.
The ministry with Pastor Moses Chuluwa comes every Friday at 20:45 hours. On Mondays, it's your favorite national matters at 20:45 hours.
Wednesday and Thursday, Pastor Victoria and Moses Chuluwa are on Partnership of Greatness with different spiritual teachings at 20:45 hours.
And Frank on Camnet comes to your screen every Tuesday at 20:45 hours.
Camnet TV, not just another channel.
With the details, my name is Liseli Kanyanga Mubanga. Government has called on resident doctors to come to the negotiating table and not engaged in illegal protests. Speaking at a media briefing in Lusaka Tuesday afternoon, Public Service Management Division Permanent Secretary Boniface Chiwali says there are always better ways of airing grievances and not engaging in illegal activities, as such attracts penalties. Meanwhile, Mr. Chiwali has announced that government has released 200 million kwacha to dismantle consolidated debt owed to public service employees within a period of 6 months. He says the money will be paid on first-come, first-served basis, and that resident doctors will also be catered for in the same funds. And Public Service Union representative Victor Muyamba has thanked government for the positive response and has urged the Treasury to be consistent in the release and disbursement of funds. Details in this report.
The protest by resident doctors has now entered the 5th day, with the doctors maintaining that they will not resume work until their grievances are addressed. But at a media briefing held in Lusaka today, Public Service Management Division Permanent Secretary Boniface Chiwali has called on the resident doctors to come to the negotiating table, saying every problem has a better way of being resolved as opposed to putting the lives of innocent citizens at risk by not attending to the sick.
So the message is simple. They are most welcome to bring the input. If they have a peculiar demand, we listen to it. The issue is not about 309. The issue is about the public employees, all of them. All of them.
Mr. Chiwali, however, says every action has consequences and that all those who have been engaging in protest will one day or the other face consequences for their actions.
We will recruit. Well, some of them might sympathize with them and decline employment. I'm not so sure how many. So we take your permit ID and give it to the new person. You work if you are willing. Then you can continue. You know, I don't know how you can even tell a spouse and say, no, I've been dismissed because I was fighting that my neighbor is also recruited.
Meanwhile, government has announced that it has released 200 million kwacha to dismantle areas owed to the public service in the next 6 months. Those to benefit from these funds include 7 employees, retired and deceased government employees, as well as the resident doctors. The development has cheered various unions who have been negotiating for the release of the fund for their members.
The unions today are pleased to inform their members that government has committed itself to dismantling the accumulated arrears over the next 6 months, starting with an initial disbursement of 200 million kwacha in the month of June 2021 across the whole public service.
Biggest allocation in this batch has gone to the Ministry of General Education with 20.5 million kwacha. It has been followed by the Ministry of Health with 15.9 million kwacha, followed by the Defense with 15.8 million kwacha, followed by Ministry of Livestock Fisheries with 8.8 million kwacha, in that order.
And Ministry of Information Permanent Secretary Amos Malupenga says government remains committed to handling grievances from the public, provided they are done in a professional manner.
No matter how legitimate their complaint is, they cannot expose or risk human life. And that's the point government is making, and government will be very firm on that point. And so it is not possible that you will insist that will go slow until this money is paid. Look, they'll tell you how many months. This negotiation has not taken 1 week. We have come to this table after months of engagements.
It is hoped that doctors will heed to the call by the government to renegotiate their demands and get back to saving lives as the oath taken by the doctors demands. Prudence Chota, reporting for Camnet TV News.
President Edgar Lungu says he is aware of the many economic hardships Zambians are going through across the country. The president was responding to Gilan Hachinda, Joseph Skillmonga, Violent Kabamba Situla, who posted on his Facebook page complaining about the harsh economy. He says he has also taken note of Zambians' complaints about the skyrocketing prices, but in response, President Edgar Lungu says Zambians' economic gains have been pushed back by the COVID-19 pandemic. He explains that the global economy shrunk by 4.4% last year, but is optimistic that things will improve going forward, hence putting in place an economic recovery plan. President Edgar Lungu has also pledged to implement a 24-hour economy with industries running on 3 shifts, which will translate into increased production and create more jobs for the many suffering Zambians. He ends by assuring Zambians that his government is determined to steer the Zambian economic ship around. This is according to a statement posted on President Edgar Lungu's official Facebook page and monitored by Camnet TV News. But a National Management Committee member in the opposition United Party for National Development, UPND, Elijah Muchima, says Zambia is lacking economic managers. He wonders why and how a country endowed with so much wealth can continue to bleed economically. Speaking at a media briefing in Lusaka, Mr. Muchima also complained about the continued abuse of the Disaster Management and Mitigation Unit DMMU by the state. He explains that currently DMMU is busy disbursing millimil in constituencies all aimed at enticing voters to vote for the Patriotic Front government, which is against dictates of the electoral process. Meanwhile, Mr. Muchima has discouraged the involvement of district commissioners in active politics as they are civil servants. He says DCs must remain impartial and not take sides. And moving on in the news, a governance expert, Charity Musamba, has observed that the biggest problem around Zambia's debt is the absence of accountability, transparency, and the lack of public participation. Ms. Musamba regrets that people are conducting national debt and loan transactions like personal businesses, a move she described as unfortunate. She urges politicians to stop misleading people to think that developmental projects that have been undertaken by the government are gifts when in fact it is borrowed money that comes with consequences. As the country holds general elections slated for August 12th, she has called on political parties to prioritize the debt issue and how they are going to address it.
The political campaigns are on, although the COVID-19 is also being advanced to curtail political gatherings, and the music competition among political parties is also high in this year's general election. Under the theory of issue-based politics, as people go to queue up on the 12th of August 2021 to elect their leaders, information on how things will be worked on is vital. We are being reminded on the important issue which must be taken seriously in this year's election, which is debt. The level of debt has now blown out to around $12.74 billion, half of which comes from the private creditors. A governance expert, Charity Musamba, says now is the right time to find out details around the sinking fund which was put in place to respond to Zambia's debt situation. She observed that the biggest problem around Zambia's debt is the absence of accountability, transparency, and the lack of public participation.
People are conducting national debt and loan transactions like personal business. Just because they're in charge of this obligation doesn't mean you do it alone. We need to move together as a country so that when we benefit as a country. When we are in trouble as a country. So there's a likelihood that Zambia's future economic and financial prosperity will remain trapped and undermined by the current debt.
She urges politicians to stop misleading people to think that developmental projects that have been undertaken by the government are gifts, when in fact it is borrowed money that comes with consequences.
Being told our economy will be on a decline. We're being told we don't have enough money as a country in our national reserves. So instead of us always going to celebrate officially launching projects, we must be spending more time in trying to tell ourselves how are we going to resolve the repayment of the loans that we borrowed in order to build these bridges, these roads, so that our future generations are not born in debt. All right? Indeed. And this is the responsibility of these political leaders. Stop misleading people to think those are gifts. Those are projects that we've been undertaking using borrowed resources.
She says if the right interventions are not put in place, the country may be trapped in debt.
If you're going to create roads and bridges, which are important for communication and transport, what supportive economic activities are going to be promoted to ensure that these roads and bridges are linked to the generation of additional required public resources? Then who's going to use the bridge if people are always poor? Who's going to use the bridge if you have no industries? Who's going to be using the bridge if no one is working, if unemployment remains so high? So who are you making this infrastructure for? That's the question.
Debt is among key issues which require political parties to demonstrate how they will address it to help voters make an informed decision. Patrick Soko, Camnet News.
The Zambian Institute of Governance and Civil Liberties Advocacy Platforms, ZICLUB, is appealing to Resident Doctors Association of Zambia to reconsider its position of continuing the go-slow industrial action. Institute Chief Executive Officer Francis Chipili says the action compromises the better common good, putting the entire nation's health at risk, which he described as immoral. And ZICLUB has further advised professional associations not to allow or open themselves up to politicians and be used as political pawns. Meanwhile, Advocates for National Development and Democracy Executive Director Samuel Banda says this is a critical time for Zambia, especially that the country is on the verge of the third wave. Mr. Banda has since stressed on the need for doctors to go back to work as they should.
Time for Zambia, as according to the Ministry of Health, we are on the verge of a third wave of COVID-19. This is not a right time for a go slow, and this action, this insistence by the association to go slow, only cements the allegations that the association is being used by certain opposition political party to gain political mileage. We wish to state that it is immoral to use the lives of the people to gain political mileage.
To appeal to the medical personnel that I'm twisting government that while they have the right for labor relations and bargaining, the method or route that they are taking is highly immoral. We expect them to maintain the integrity and professionalism of their careers. We don't expect health professionals to float themselves to be used by politicians. We encourage them to rethink their decision to go slow, as they cannot float the lives of the people as their bargaining power.
Jailed former Community Development Minister Marine Kabanshi has appealed against her jail sentence. Her grounds of appeal are that the magistrate erred in law when he found her guilty in both counts against the weight of evidence on record. In an affidavit in support summons for bail pending appeal dated the 31st May 2021, Ms. Kabanshi states that her appeal has raised issues of public importance, and one such issue is one relating to the role of a minister in the current constitution whose ground was not touched by the courts. The former minister explains that once given bail, she will comply with the conditions, stating that she is not a flight risk, considering that during her entire trial, she was on bail and never ran away until her sentencing. The magistrate has since set Thursday this week as day for hearing her bail application pending appeal. Ms. Kabanshi was last week found guilty and convicted on 2 counts of willfully failure to follow procedure or guidelines relating to engaging and amending the contract between the Ministry of Community Development and ZAMPOST for payments of social cash transfer money. And still in court news, the Lusaka Magistrate Court has established that the life of a 13-year-old pupil of Lusaka, Frank Mugala, was cut short by a trigger-happy police officer. The court, however, says the police killer's identity has been hidden by his fellow officers and protected by a blue code of silence. Delivering the verdict of the inquest Tuesday morning, Magistrate Sanford Ngowola, who sat as coroner, said the death of 13-year-old Mugala was a deliberate shooting by an unidentified officer. The court also established in its verdict that investigation officer did little to uncover the truth, as it was a way of protecting the real killer police. Mugala, who was a grade 8 pupil at Chazanga Primary School, was shot dead by the police on his way home from school on February 13. 15, 2021, whilst dispersing residents who were protesting over the chemical gassing incidents of homes and schools which rocked the country last year. More in this report.
The inquest of 13-year-old Frank Mugala, who was a grade 8 pupil at Chazanga Primary School, has finally come to its conclusion, with the coroner Tuesday morning delivering a verdict that the police caused the death of the young boy. Mugala was shot dead at his school premises at the time the police wanted to disperse residents who were protesting over the chemical gassing incidents of homes and schools which rocked the country early 2020. In the verdict, the coroner established that the second inquest witness testimony, narration of event, was seamlessly content and misdemeanors, and the said evidence placed the police at the scene of crime as the assailant of Frank Mugala. In the verdict, the coroner established that the second inquest witness testimony, narration of event, was seamlessly content and misdemeanors, and the said evidence placed the police at the scene of crime as the assailant of Frank Mugala. Coroner Sanford Ngobola has established that during the course of investigations of inquiry, the investigation officer did little to uncover the truth as to what led to the death of the deceased because of their blue code of silence of protecting each other. The coroner has further established that during the inquiry of investigation, the investigation officer never bothered to record statement from senior police officers to confirm with them whether or not they gave instructions to fire gunshot, and that they were never availed as witnesses in the inquest. The verdict has further established that the officer who shot Mugala formed the necessary intentions to either cause death or grievous harm on the deceased, as it is clear from the evidence that a crime of murder was committed. Other facts established is that a trigger-happy police officer took away the life of an innocent boy who was not participating in the riot and paid the price of death. Section 24, subsection 2 of the Zambia Police Act, Chapter 107 of the Laws of Zambia, provides as follows: the police officer shall not, in the presence of a senior police officer, use a firearm against any person except under the orders of that superior officer. In conclusion, the coroner finds that the death of 13-year-old Mugala was a deliberate shooting by a police officer whose identity has been hidden by his fellow officers and has provided for under Section 29 of the Inquest Act, Chapter 86 of the Laws of Zambia. He has ordered that the copy of the inquest proceedings be forwarded to the Commissioner of Police for necessary action. And speaking to the media after the verdict, the family to the late had this to say.
The coroner's report is fair, in that it has uncovered almost everything that we as a family desired so much to know exactly what transpired to Frank and who is responsible for Frank's death. So in this case, the coroner's report is very objective, and they have made a recommendation to the Commissioner of Police. And as a family, we will have to sit down and chart the way forward.
Miriam Kaimba, reporting for Camnet TV News.
The Ministry of Health has reported that Zambia has found itself in the top 6 countries in the region with high numbers of COVID-19 cases in the last 24 hours. Ministry of Health Permanent Secretary Technical Services Kennedy Malama says the country recorded 558 new COVID-19 cases with 1 death in the last 24 hours. Dr. Malama has confirmed that the third wave of the pandemic has been confirmed following reports received over the last 2 weeks. The permanent secretary has, however, informed the nation that the Zambia Medicines Regulatory Authority, ZAMRA, has approved 5 COVID-19 vaccines for use in Zambia. Details in this report.
Fellow countrymen, women and the youth, today as we reflect it's important to mention that Zambia finds itself in the top 6 countries in the region who reported the highest numbers of COVID-19 in the last 24 hours. You remember, it's a long time that Zambia was in the top 10 countries in Africa. We appeal once again to our sister ministries, the Ministry of General Education, Ministry of Higher Education, that we continue working together and implementing the surveillance guidelines we developed to save the lives of learners and students in our country. In the last 24 hours, as a country, we recorded 558 new confirmed cases of COVID-19 out of the 8,070 tests conducted. This gives a positivity of 6.9%, the highest we've seen as far back as 2 months plus. This is a sign that the infection continued ravaging in the community, and this is not a surprise, as you see from the number of people we are seeing in our hospitals and also those who are getting infected.
The Medical for Quality Healthcare in Zambia, MQHZ, has called for concerted efforts towards combating hearing impairment in Zambia. MQHZ Senior National Trustee Douglas Mwape says there has been a rise in the number of hearing impaired populations in the country and people can hardly afford treatment or implants. Mr. Mwape said this is because the current estimated cost of a cochlear implant is ranging between 670,487 and 893,982 in the country. He has since called on government, philanthropists, NGOs, and all adequate sectors to collaborate with health institutions providing ear services to subsidize the prices to enable more people with hearing impairments to have access to hearing aids, cochlear implants and surgery. He further appeals to the government to approve and maximize neonatal screening for early detection of hearing impairment and effective treatment with implants or surgery.
Medical for Quality Healthcare in Zambia has called for concerted effort to eradicate hearing impairment in Zambia. There has been a rise in the number of hearing impairment population in the country that can hardly afford treatment or implants. This is because the estimated cost of a cochlear implant ranges between 487 kwacha teningwe to around 983 kwacha. We call upon the government, NGOs, philanthropists, and all adequate sectors to collaborate with health institutions providing otorhinolaryngological services in order to subsidize the prices to enable more people with hearing impairments to have access to hearing aid, cochlear implants, and surgery. Medical for Quality Healthcare is further appealing to the government to approve and maximize neonatal screening for early detection of hearing impairment and effective treatment and implants or surgery. Lastly, but very cardinal, we appeal to the government to quickly come to the aid of the hearing impaired because this is an issue of great importance and national concern.
We take our first set of commercials. To stay with us as we still have more interesting stories lined up for you.
From time immemorial, we have had different types of lighting options, from those that can burn down our investments in minutes to those that dig holes in our pockets due to constant replacement and huge consumption of our ZESCO units. Savenda Electric introduces the new and advanced electric bulb with cutting-edge technology of LED that has low power consumption, gives out bright white light, and lasts up to 25,000 hours. Savenda Electric manufactures all types of LED light, like plastic LED fluorescent tubes, down lights, ceiling lights, outdoor fittings, and solar street lights made to customer specifications. Let's live on the bright side of life by choosing the wide range of Savenda Electric lighting solutions that are available in all leading stores and supermarkets countrywide. For orders, call 0962-642-490 or email jnbunda@savenda.com or pchabula@savenda.com.
President Edgar Lungu and the Patriotic Front, through the Industrial Development Corporation, have established Zambia's first ever and largest crude oil plantation. Vote Edgar Lungu and the PF that have brought you change.
Every day for me means hard work. Going to sell my goods at the local market. To get more customers, I have my secret. Oracle Pure Glycerin. It's soft, smooth, and keeps my skin perfect. And my customers know it. Thank you, Oracle, for my perfect skin.
It's your friends.
I insist.
Your drama.
Do you think you can talk about my dad like that? You in charge.
And intrigue.
Are you out for good or what? What do you want? Dare you say that to me, eh?
Your heroes. It's your moment with your stories. Made at home for your home. 'Cause great stories start on DSTV.
2021 has been described as a highly politically charged year. This is because every 5 years, the country goes to the polls, and that 5 years elapses. With only a few months remaining down to the ballot, the battlefield to appear on the ballot is becoming fertile. A lot of people are expressing interest of appearing on the ballot.
In all this, our interest is to put the duty bearers, the leaders, and those aspiring to task by asking the relevant questions.
If you're an aspiring candidate, be it councillor, mayor, or member of parliament, get in touch with us to get yourself on the verdict.
We go beyond speculation in dealing with policy and governance issues. The right questions are asked to help you make a verdict.
For more details, you can call us on 0962 965883, 0979 753010, or email us info@camnettvafrica.com. Terms and conditions apply.
Join us on Camnet TV
every Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday at 17:45 hours
on a new program dubbed The Verdict.
Remember that Camnet TV is not just another channel.
Thank you so much for staying with us. We continue with the news. The Zambia Police Service Top Command has deployed police officers in all constituencies across the country to maintain law and order. Inspector General of Police Kakoma Kanganja has announced the development in Lusaka. Meanwhile, Mr. Kanganja has ordered his deployed officers to arrest and bring to book all those who will be found breaking the law during the election period to ensure that law and order is maintained. Speaking when he visited deployed officers in Kanyama and Chawama compound, Mr. Kanganja says the success of policing general election largely depends on how well the officers will prepare and organize for the task. The police IG says all door-to-door campaigns should be well regulated because most of the clashes by cadres recorded in the past have been as a result of door-to-door campaigns. He has since warned police officers not to take sides with any political party or involve themselves in partisan politics, as doing so is against the moral fiber of the Zambia Police Service.
It is your duty as police officers to ensure that law and order is at all times maintained by arresting and bringing to book all those found wanting. The Commissioner, ladies and gentlemen, the success of policing general elections largely depends on how well you are prepared and organized for this task. This calls for determination. I further implore you to ensure that you apply and administer the Public Order Act in a more professional and proficient manner. Ensure that all door-to-door campaigns are well regulated, because most of the clashes by cadres we have recorded in the past elections have been a result of door-to-door campaigns. We should also ensure that all political parties who express their intentions to hold political rallies or any public gatherings seek certification from public health inspectors before notifying the police on their intended activity. I urge you to exhibit high levels of professionalism and restraint as you police this year's elections. I do not expect you to take sides with any political party or involving yourselves into partisan politics, because doing so is against the moral fiber of the Zambia Police Service. You are here to police the elections and not to participate in politics. So stick to our common mandate of maintaining law and order, discipline, and supporting the government of the day.
But the UPND in Kitwe on the Copperbelt province has complained of police biasness in dealing with electoral complaints. Speaking at a media briefing in Kitwe addressed by the party's provincial youth chairman Daniel Kamenga, provincial vice youth chairman in charge of politics Kangwa Kamando, and Kitwe district youth chairman Boaz Kapata, the party officials explained that the police have failed to effect any arrest on recent attacks minted on party members by known PF cadres. The officials state that despite having reported the matters to the police, have continued to pay a deaf ear to their complaints. The Alliance for Community Action has charged that a lack of political will is the main reason behind high levels of political violence and victimization of citizens in public places. Alliance Executive Director Laura Mitty says what is required is action from the head of state, as he is the only one with the capacity to end violence. Speaking when she featured on a Camnet TV program dubbed The Verdict, Ms. Mitty also urged the government to open the space in public media as it champions the agenda to stop political rallies in the wake of the COVID-19 pandemic. She notes that the president is discouraging the public rallies because he has space in public media, while opposition political parties are not able to enjoy the same privilege. Ms. Mitty also underscored the need to address development inequalities prevailing in most parts of Zambia. She says addressing poverty, access to water and sanitation and feeder roads are among priority issues for the rural populace desires.
You see, if every political party had the chance to go on ZNBC, your SEMA stations, the TV station, as well as the radio one, ZNBC, is it one that goes to the rural areas?
Yes,
yeah.
1 and 2.
1 and 2. So you have HH there, you have Kalaba there, you have, sorry, some of the candidates name Mazona Mazina, but everybody is there. There will be less pressure to hold these rallies. So as a president or as a ruling party, when you make a health pronouncement, you have to understand that this is an election period and these candidates must get through to the people. How are you allowing them? You know the kind of power the Zambian president has as you. I've said this over and over. The only reason we have violence is because the president has refused to stop it. And the ruling party, Minister of Home Affairs. If they wanted Lero so, they would end violence. Because the political violence in Zambia is PF violence. That's the truth. The one that affects us, we ordinary people, is PF kind of violence. They are the ones who take taxes from minibus drivers. They are the ones who get taxes from vendors. When you go to a township and say Tiyo Pamakada, they're not talking about the opposition members.
Chief Musele of Kalumbila district of Northwestern Province has complained that access to healthcare service has remained a problem in his chiefdom despite engaging authorities. Chief Musele says his chiefdom has no health center, that's making it difficult for his subjects to access health services. He says his subjects have to access health facilities in Manyama area, which he said is a great distance. Speaking to Camnet News, the traditional leader adds that the area has no ambulance as well.
another challenge. It's over ambulance, because the ambulance which we had was taken to Manyama, which World Vision provided. It was taken to Manyama. Up to now, it is still at Manyama. And mine provided an ambulance, which was under some conditions. We don't know those conditions, but the Ministry of Health, they are saying the mines have put some conditions which it's not acceptable by the ministry. So they are still negotiating. It has now taken 2 years without releasing the ambulance. We don't know what is there. But people are dying on the way because of no ambulances to deliver the patients to the hospital. So my area is vast and it has a lot of people, but it's the only area with a very big mine without an ambulance. Even the government doesn't even bother to give us an ambulance like the way they are doing to other areas, like in Tambo they have their own ambulance, in Chief Kanyama they have their own ambulance, and in Chief Kakoma they have their own ambulance, which is operating in Kakoma and Kanongesh and the other areas, but in our chiefdom there is nothing.
Civil society scaling up nutrition has called on government to ensure that milk is incorporated in the dietary needs of its people. Speaking during the World Milk Day celebrations Tuesday, organization's executive director Matthews Muhuru says milk is an important nutrient like many other foods and help in the reduction of stunting and the promotion of healthier lives. Meanwhile, Consumer Unity Trust Society Center Director Claudia Pollen says more emphasis should be placed on this important nutrient. More in this report.
Since June 1st, 2000, World Milk Day is celebrated by the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations. On this day, the dairy sector is put under the microscope and highlighting the importance of milk products as a global food. In Zambia, milk still remains a preserve of a few, despite producing a lot of which mainly goes to waste. On this World Milk Day, partners, among them the civil society organization Scaling Up Nutrition, has called for government's effort in making sure that milk is included as one of the major dietary ingredients.
The consumption of milk as a country is very, very low, from 24 liters that we're consuming currently instead of the 200 liters that we're supposed to be consuming on an annual basis. So we're reminding parents to really take keen interest, especially when it comes to the welfare of the young ones who are going to schools. So rather than packing, foods or beverages that will make them get non-communicable diseases within a short time, let us consider giving the young ones, the little ones, foods that will complement just their nutritional needs. So we are happy that, just the partnerships that we've had with Clover, for example, over the past 2 years, we've been making donations to orphanages just to celebrate World Milk Day with children who cannot, afford to buy milk. But this year, just going further, beyond the orphanages to go to even the health facilities, to go to the cancer ward, to go to the malnutrition department, because milk becomes an important commodity that is used in creating therapeutic foods just to aid people who are battling for their lives as a result of malnutrition. So we are very happy that this is happening, and our call still goes to government to create an enabling environment and put in incentives that will just boost milk production in the country to ensure that we consume healthy foods, healthy beverages as a country.
And speaking at the same event, Consumer Unity Trust Society has also added its voice with a call for government to incentivize the farmers that produce milk, which is mainly contaminated.
Our concern is that we know very well that milk is quite important in ensuring a sustainable diet,
And so I think we would like to see a lot more intentional incentives being created by government to ensure that milk becomes a daily, sort of like a daily provision. And this must be reflected in terms of pricing and in terms of ensuring that there's a bit more incentives that are given to dairy farmers, because I think that's the missing link. That misinformation and just basically investing the necessary infrastructure that will allow us to start seeing sustainable flow of milk, even just in schools. So
Meanwhile, Clover Zambia has partnered with the CSOs by donating the milk and its products to the University Teaching Hospital as part of the commemoration of the World Milk Day.
Very happy to be part again in partnership with CSO Sun Associations as we're celebrating the 25th anniversary of the World Milk Day. We definitely prepare a couple of activities on the course of this day. So we, together with our team, we're going to go to UTH Hospital and we prepared a nice donation for the cancer disease and the malnutrition ward. So definitely that's something that's going to happen and take place this afternoon. During the week, we're also going to be donating to a couple of orphanages, and we're going to be sharing this in our social media. We definitely want people to participate. So Matthew also going to talk a little bit about a campaign that we're running with CSO Sun.
Sharon Kalimbola, Camnet News, Lusaka.
We take another set of commercials to stay with us as we still have international and sports news. Don't go away.
At Master Signs, our services range from outdoor, indoor signage such as billboards, banners, 3D light boxes, pylons and neon signs. We are located at plot number 397A, Makeni Road, Lusaka, at Oryx Filling Station. For more details, call us on +260 967 100 090 or +260 966 999 981, or better still, email us at infomastersign@gmail.com. Master Sign, we will make it shine.
In this fast-paced era of industrial boom and population growth, there is need to invest in smart ways of managing electricity and water consumption and reducing utility billing costs associated with the postpaid billing system. At Savenda Electronics, we manufacture right here in Zambia different types of high-quality smart electricity and water meters to customer specifications. Savenda Electronics water and electricity meters help you monitor your usage and gives notifications such as low units, tampering, low battery, and many other features. These easy-to-use meters makes it easier to buy units even in these COVID times and top up just from the comfort of your space. Favorable contract terms are available to both electricity and water utilities. For more details, get in touch with us on the following numbers: 0956 580 349 or 0977 498 318. Savenda Electronics, the real deal.
Making GoTV payments is easier than you think. But first, you have to log in. First of all, open the GoTV app. Then select your country. Fill in your surname or cell phone number and then your IUC number. That's it. You can log in. Welcome to your home page. Now click on Pay Now. Select Make a Payment. Next, you will be asked how much you wish to pay. You can do this by clicking on the space next to the kwacha sign and entering the desired amount. All the details of your payment, including account details and amount you are paying, will appear. Make sure everything is in order. Now click on the Ting button under Choose Payment option. When the Ting window pops up, click on OK and then Pay Now. Now select Preferred Card Payment or Mobile Money option. When the Make a Payment window opens, click on the pink Pay Now button. Now, you simply authorize the payment by clicking on Send Prompt, which will send a prompt to your mobile number. Once you've received the prompt on your phone, simply enter the unique PIN and you are done. GoTV. Love it.
Camnet TV is here to entertain, educate and inform you. Catch Rise and Thrive at 0730 hours every Saturday. Fresh and new praise and worship comes Monday to Friday at 8 hours. Kids need to be glued to the TV every weekday at 09 hours for their favorite cartoons. Off the pitch with the boys as they talk about sport on Saturdays at 0930 hours.
Remember, we are also here to entertain you with our different varieties of movies every weekday at 10 hours. Join Pastor Victoria and Moses Chuluwa with Healing Word Ministries International Church live sermon every Sunday at 10 hours.
Katamanda brings to you another journey of gospel ministers on Saturdays at 10:30 hours. The verdict comes to your screens at 17:45 hours. Join the Revival Harvest Church every Sunday at 18:30 hours.
Every Monday to Saturday, join us on the news desk at 12 hours as we bring to you the midday news, and at 19:30 hours Central African time every day for the main bulletin.
The ministry with Pastor Moses Chuluwa comes every Friday at 20:45 hours. On Mondays, it's your favorite national matters at 20:45 hours.
Wednesday and Thursday, Pastor Victoria and Moses Chuluwa are on Partnership of Greatness with different spiritual teachings at 20:45 hours.
And Frank on Camnet comes to your screen every Tuesday at 20:45 hours.
Camnet TV, not just another channel.
Thank you so much for staying with us. We continue with the news. In international news, scuffles broke out during a meeting of the African Union Parliament on Monday as a week-long debate over the election of their new president boiled over. In scenes of mayhem broadcasted on South Africa's national broadcaster, SABC, lawmakers could be seen rushing to the floor, shouting at officials to express their discontentment. Members of Parliament wrestled over a white ballot box located at the front of the room that was meant to hold the votes of the election of the Pan-African Parliament President. Two women first fought over the box, trying to rip it out of each other's hands. Then an enraged male lawmaker ripped off his suit jacket and aimed a kick in the direction of female Member of Parliament Pemi Majodina of South Africa. The unidentified lawmaker said he was not trying to kick Majodina, but rather trying to kick a cell phone out of the hand of another lawmaker, recording the chaos on his phone.
Scuffles broke out during a meeting of the African Union Parliament on Monday as a week-long debate over the election of their new president boiled over. In scenes of mayhem broadcasted on the SABC, lawmakers could be seen rushing to the floor, shouting at officials to express their discontent. Members of Parliament wrestled over a white ballot box located at the front of the room that was meant to hold the votes for the election of the Pan-African Parliament President. The vote had already been postponed last Thursday when a staff member tested positive for COVID-19. The chaos stems from a disagreement between West and Central African countries and a bloc of states from Southern Africa over whether the presidency should move around the various regions of the continent on a rotational basis. Lawmakers pointed out that the last two presidents of the Pan-African Parliament have been from West Africa, and that not a single president of the African Union institution had originated from the Southern African country since its creation in 2004.
Quite interesting revelations there. Moving on, still in international news, former Ivory Coast President Laurent Gbagbo plans to return home on June 17th following his acquittal on charges of crimes against humanity at the International Criminal Court, ICC, a party official said Monday. The ICC confirmed in March that Gbagbo and his sidekick Charles Blegonde were in the clear over the devastating post-electoral violence that rocked the West African nation in 2010 and 2011. Despite spending years behind bars tribunals in the Dutch city and awaiting in Brussels for the decision of a 2019 appeal, the former president retains considerable support at home. The former president's travel expenses will be covered by Ouattara's administration, and steps will be made to guarantee that he obtains the perks and allowances accorded to past presidents, according to Alassane Ouattara at a cabinet meeting. The former president's homecoming might be hampered further by a pending 20-year sentence handed down in absentia by an Ivorian court in November 2019 for misappropriating funds from the regional central bank.
Former President of Ivory Coast plans to return home on June 17 following his acquittal on charges of crimes against humanity at the ICC, according to his party. The International Court confirmed in March that Gbagbo and his sidekick Charles Blake Goudé were in the clear over the devastating post-electoral violence that rocked the West African nation in 2010 and 2011. Despite spending years behind bars in the Dutch city and waiting in Brussels for the decision of a 2019 appeal, the former president retains a considerable support at home. Gbagbo's travel expenses will be covered by Ouattara's administration, and steps will be made to guarantee that he obtains the perks and allowances afforded to past presidents. Gbagbo's homecoming might be hampered by a 20-year sentence handed down in absentia by the Ivorian court in November 2019 for misappropriation of funds from the regional central bank.
We now get into sports news. The Zambia national soccer team has left for Dakar, Senegal ahead of three international friendly matches scheduled for June of FIFA window. Mitchell has summoned a strong squad for the three friendly matches, with several foreign players included in the team. Russian-based Klings Kangwa is among the players summoned for the engagements as Mitchell looks to fine-tune his squad. Other foreign-based players summoned include the South African-based duo of Cyril Chibwe and Salolani Piri, who arrived in the country yesterday ahead of the three international friendlies against Senegal, Benin and Sudan. Cardiff City under-18 winger Tanzania Mayembe, who was handed his first national team call-up, had his first training with the Copper Bullets yesterday and impressed during the 1-0 friendly match win over City of Lusaka. Meanwhile, Lubambo Msonda is a doubt for the three friendly matches ahead, having sustained a knee injury. The medical staff is closely monitoring the Polish-based speedy winger as they hope to avoid aggravating the injury. The CHIPOLOPOLO boys will face Senegal in an international friendly match on June 5th, Benin on June 8th, and they are expected to proceed to Orderman to play Sudan on June 11th. The story is courtesy of Zamfoot Sports. Well, that sports item brings us to the end of the news, but before we go, a recap of the headlines. Zambian government releases 200 million kwacha to service debt it owes civil servants. Coroner's court finds police guilty of deliberately shooting to death Frank Mugala. President Edgar Lungu responds to Zambians over harsh economy. And in international news, chaos in Pan-African Parliament over continental bodies election. And in sports news, CHIPOLOPOLO leave for Senegal. The Camnet World Verse of the day is coming from the book of Colossians 3, verse 23 to 24, and it reads, Whatever you do, work at it with all your heart as working for the Lord, not for human masters, since you know that you will receive an inheritance from the Lord as a reward. It is the Lord Christ you are serving. On behalf of the entire news production crew and myself, Liseli Kanyanga Mubanga, thank you so much for watching Camnet TV News on Camnet TV, not just another channel.